This is Lawrence Lotz, and welcome to the Wolf of Queen Street. Welcome back to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast series. Welcome back to the audio or the video series. But before we get into today's show, I just want to do a shout out to my sponsors, Wealth Mentor. Wealth Mentor is Australasia's leading financial education provider, and their mission is to make wealth accessible to all. They achieve this by working with the best in the business and form programs that their customers can use to take their investment goals from where they are to the next level and take their wealth and their wealth creation further along the path, not just for themselves, but for the generations ahead. If this is something that sounds like you're interested in or you want to learn more about, you can find them at wealthmentor.co.nz. But today I'm super pumped to join by John Hulen, the host of the Relationship and Revenue Podcast, a show where real answers come from real discussions and where he just talks about what holds men back in their business and relationships and things about improving their lives to take it to the next steps. And John, welcome to the show.
Lawrence, thanks so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm super excited to be here today and can't wait to be able to get into this fantastic topic we're going to be talking about.
Awesome. I thought John just recently on his podcast released an episode the other day, and I said, "Oh, John, I really love this. How about I piggyback off this and we'll have the discussion to my audience because I think it'll be amazing." And he covered off the 6 types of leaders or the 6 type of leadership people you see out there in the business space, whether business or personal life, and what the benefits, the pros and cons you see around these type of leadership styles, and what you can take from it as well. Because sometimes as ourselves in our lives, we think we're one type of leader, but not realizing, and John explained this really well, is you can be a little bit of both actually, or a little bit of 3 types of leaders and taking some of those skills and then implementing the right way. But you've got to understand and almost accept what you are as a leader. So John, I thought I could steal some of your amazing insights from your show and we can have a chat about it today.
Well, that's why I'm here. So let's steal away.
So great. So just before we get into it, there were 6 types of leaders that John spoke about the other day. They are the unpredictable leaders, the domineering leaders, the secretive leaders, the passive leaders, the health leaders, and the empowering leaders. And I thought we'll get straight into it at the moment, John, with yourself, is if you take us through what is an unpredictable leader?
Sure, happy to do that. Well, the thing about unpredictable leaders and that they're most known for, and let me say up front, the first 4 are leadership styles that are not desirable. So let's just be clear about that. Okay. But the unpredictable leader is one who produces hesitant followers. Now, if you've ever had let's just use the word misfortune of working for an unpredictable leader, or you happen to know that you are one, you never know what that leader is going to do next. You don't know what to expect, which leads to that hesitancy, that the fearfulness, being tentative. So it's impossible for a team of people who are supposedly following this unpredictable leader to find any level of consistency. So I would encourage you, if what I've described is you as a leader, if you are that unpredictable leader, the thing that you can work on most that will help you is your consistency. Because as someone I look up to in the area of leadership, as Craig Rochelle says, successful people do consistently what normal people do occasionally.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. Yeah, I mean, unpredictable leaders, we see them around, we see them in the workplace, we see them in our lives. And it's so true what you said. It's you question yourself because you don't know what the next steps can be. So you've been given an insight or a piece to do right now, but because you know they're unpredictable, you're not sure where the second or third or fourth steps can come along. So you question yourself, you question your motivation, and fundamentally, you never know if your decision you take it is right or wrong. So you literally just sit back and it benefits nobody.
Oh, for sure. And not only that, the unpredictability of that leader is what hinders the team and ultimately hinders the business. Now, it might not just be a business, it could be in your family.
Yeah.
You could have an unpredictable leader in your family, and you know what that feels like. It's like nobody knows what to expect. All right, we'll pick on dad for a minute because I'm a dad and you're a dad. So we'll pick on dads for a minute. If dad is an unpredictable leader in the family, we don't necessarily know what to expect from dad. When something happens, is he going to get upset? Is he going to be okay with it? Is he going to make a joke about it? It's because if he's always doing different things, there's no consistency there. And trust me, for those of you who are parents, you know this. That's one of the things that our kids need more than anything else is they need to be able to count on us time and time again. And consistency is key.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So how about we move into the next one? Domineering leaders.
Sure. Domineering leaders are ones who produce compliant followers. And these types of leaders, I hate to say it this way, but it's true. They will intimidate and they will threaten people into following them. Now, don't misunderstand. A domineering leader will produce results. Absolutely. But they're short term. They're not long term. And these domineering leaders, they foster a culture of yes people. Now, I don't know if you've ever been around people like that, but I have when I worked in the corporate world. And I don't like being around yes people. It's like as if they don't have an original thought in their head. So all they want to do is to say yes to whatever the boss says just in order to suck up. And I have no time or patience for folks like that. It's like, get an opinion of your own, please.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, keep going.
No, that's all right. What I was going to say was that so instead of this emphasis on having this domineering leader who insists on compliance, you'll get it, but what you don't get from your team, again, it could be your family, you don't get commitment. You don't get buy-in to the vision.
Yep.
So that is really, really big. One good rule of thumb here, and I mentioned it in my episode that I think is really helpful, is to ask 10 times more questions than you give directions. If you're doing that as the leader, there's no way you're falling under that category of domineering.
Sorry to interrupt the current show, but just to let you know, if you're enjoying what you've seen, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. So next time another episode comes out, you'll be able to see it first. Back to the show.
Yeah, we see this quite often, domineering leaders, and we find them also in leadership roles throughout the world where almost fear needs to be used, right? I don't want to mention political or powers or roles that play in the world, but everyone can know what I'm talking about, of people that are instigating fear and dominating on what their decisions they're making. But as you think back, none of those decisions that's ever been made in the history of people in those roles have ever been the right decisions, or what they try to implement never stood more than a day, a week, a month, or a year about the movement. And like you said, is stuff will happen, but they won't stay that way, and they won't be embedded from what the people are trying to achieve from these leaders.
For sure. No longevity at all.
Yeah, that's totally true. Then you get your next one, your third one, the secretive leaders.
Now, secretive leaders, what they end up producing are guarded followers. And I can tell you, if your family, if your team, whoever it is that you're working with, and you're that secretive leader, if your people are guarded, they're not going to give you honest feedback. Now, you may add a little bit of that domineering side in and insist on the feedback, but if you get it, it's not going to be honest. And so if you're not getting the kind of feedback that you need, your days as an effective leader are numbered. That's why things like transparency, vulnerability, and honesty are so important for leaders. I cannot emphasize those three things enough.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But with these secretive leaders, is it in the sense of, so anyone that's listening at the moment, is it that someone is a leader but isn't openly about it, or is he hiding behind and trying to act like a softer leader? Because obviously you're talking about transparency from people that are within the team. But when I hear the term secretive leader, it almost seems like someone that's sitting in the back of the room trying to push their way forward to become a leader.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying there. The way I'm viewing it, or the way I'm describing this secretive leader, it is someone who clearly has a leadership position, is holding it. But the secretive part is they hold back the information. They're not telling the team, the family, the whoever, all the stuff they need to know up front. And so that's where that lack of honesty comes into play, because oftentimes what these secretive leaders believe is that if I give them all the information, they're not going to want to follow me.
Yeah. They always want to hold a little back so they have a little bit of power left in their hand, pretty much.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But it's one of those. It's funny. It's one of those things we see in society. Like I had when I started in my brand and my business years ago, I had that whole strong belief as well. As like if I gave everything away or told everyone, then people would all of a sudden, not need me or not want me around. But then there was that realization that, hold on, no matter how much I share or how much I push out there, they will become better versions of themselves. They're never going to become a better version of myself. And I think that's one of the biggest things we learn as going into a leadership role or setting yourself up, is that we need to be willing to do that, because to benefit the other person, not that they ever going to, compete with yourself. They're only ever competing with themselves or to better their career.
Oh, absolutely. I would be the first to tell you that the best leaders I've ever seen are they serve other people.
Yeah,
They are not out for themselves. They're always about other people.
Yeah, but John, would you agree it's something we've got to? Would you agree that there's a lot of people start off as secretive leaders and then evolve into a better version, because we still have that subtle ego when we start in our business or brand. We have our subtle belief of, hey, I want to become the better, and then we learn through time of what is the better role to take on.
Oh, sure. So, I've never met someone, and this is probably not fair to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
I've never met a great young leader. And the reason I say that, it's not because there aren't people who are young who aren't good leaders, but understand, I said great.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes experience, just being around all different kinds of people in a lot of different situations in order to develop it. Because truly, leaders are made, not born. It takes really hard work to be an amazing leader. You have to be committed to it all the time.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Moving on to the next one, passive leaders.
Okay, passive leaders. Now, passive leaders, what they end up producing are disengaged followers. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked with someone that's a passive leader. I have. It is not a fun experience. It's almost like it's one of those people that has the title but doesn't want the job, if that makes sense. They're there and they have the responsibility, but they don't really want to do anything. So if there's a problem, and it's very clear to everyone who's involved that there's a problem, but the leader doesn't do anything about it, the problem isn't the issue. The problem is the leader. And I can tell you this, if a leader doesn't care, the team is not going to care. So the most important thing for somebody who is a passive leader, who realizes, ooh, I am that person, I need to work on this, is acknowledging the problem in the first step. That's what gets us to be able to begin to overcome this idea of passivity. So start by doing something. Doing nothing is worse than doing something, even if you do it wrong.
Yeah, totally. If I see this a lot in the corporate world, and sense, if you find someone working in a business and they've been there sort of the longest period of time, let's say if they've been in a company that's got high turnover, they might have been there for 3 or 5 or 7 years, and all of a sudden senior managers goes, hey, he or she has been here for the longest, we're going to promote them into a management or leadership role automatically without understanding the person themselves. And then so therefore you find yourselves that passive leaders are either pushed into that direction, from what my experience is, not because it's on their own decision, or they've stepped up and then realized, hold on, this isn't what I entailed it to be, and then and then they pretty much both go down the same path of, I don't want to be here.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen that happen too. And it is unfortunate, and we're going to get into some things that can help with that in just a moment. So
Yeah, so cool. So the next one, we got into the fifth one, and I think this is the first one of what you were talking about at our good leadership roles or good leadership types. It talks about health leaders.
yes, healthy leaders. Healthy leaders, what they end up producing are faithful followers.
Yep.
So instead of having, an unpredictable leader, a healthy leader has a clear vision. And instead of being domineering, a healthy leader listens, collaborates. Instead of being secretive, a healthy leader is transparent and trusting.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being passive, a healthy leader is active. A healthy leader is engaged daily within the organization or within the family. And if you work for a healthy leader, you are going to want to follow, sacrifice, and give your absolute best to this person. Now, that sounds pretty amazing all on its own, doesn't it? I mean, it does to me.
Yeah.
And I've known plenty of leaders that that's where they are. They are a healthy, functioning, live, doing a great job kind of leader. But there is one, I believe, there is one that's even better than that. Now, for years, I didn't know that one exists. The one we're going to get to, I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
So I was so thrilled when I learned about it because it changed everything for me.
Yeah, we might as well get straight into it. And the sixth one we're talking about is empowering leaders.
Yes. So the thing that is exciting about a leader that's someone who empowers people.
Mm-hmm.
Empowering leaders don't just produce followers. They produce other great leaders.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's so key about them. They're going to do all the things that a healthy leader does and then more on top. They're not focused on themselves. They're focused on empowering other people to give them the ability to say yes to opportunities and to vision because they're others centered. They're about lifting other people up. They're about identifying those future leaders and then building into them, investing in them.
I love that. Now, I'll ask you on this. Who's your favorite empowering leader then?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mentioned him earlier, so I probably have to use it. His name is Craig Groeschel. It's actually my favorite leadership podcast to listen to is his. It's called the Craig Groeschel Leadership Podcast. It comes out once a month. But the reason that I like the leader that he is, he happens to be the pastor of the largest church in America, but it's not one location. It's 40 locations in 10 states. Now, his organization is not large because of the people that work for him, because there's about 750, 800 people that work for him. But they have tens of thousands of volunteers. Now, to lead a great organization of mostly volunteers, and we're talking tens of thousands who you have no paycheck to hold over their head to get them to do stuff, but you get people to buy into the vision. You are constantly empowering those people to do better, to fill other roles, to create roles for them. That's somebody I want to learn from.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And there's leaders. If anyone that's listened now and's gotten through sort of the six we've spoken about, and you think back to your path, back to your life and stuff, there would have been leaders that you would have come across that still to this day made an impact to your life, and you always think back. There would have been leaders that you think back and just go, oh, please, no, not again, never again. And unfortunately, it's something that sticks with people for all their life. You go and speak to people, no matter what age they are, what's the time in their lives, and go, hey, talking back through an experience, they will always bring up the right leaders, and they'll always go down or forget about the bad leaders, the people following bad leadership.
True. That's very true. I mean, I can vividly remember, a handful of folks who were in leadership positions, or I was on teams where they were the leaders, and I was like, I got to figure out why they're great.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something I'm not doing. So I need to be learning.
I've spoken about this before, and just because it's close to my home. So my dad used to coach sport when I was a teenager, and he still helps me coach now my son. But he coached me in teenage years at baseball back in South Africa, and from under 12 to about under 16, under 17.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a leadership style and everything that happened there, that we had the same group of boys growing up for about 3 or 4 years together. And still to this day, 25 plus years later, I've still got these friends or those people that played in that team still says to reach out to me and go, "Hey, how's coach? What's coach doing?" It's still they're like 40 years old and they still won't call him by his first name. They still know him as coach.
Yep.
And that's all that they care about, and they want to see and learn from it because of that experience at that time period that was put into them. That's the way they see it. I had coaches myself outside my father when I grew up, and they took on that strong leadership that I think back and go, okay, this person had an impact on my life in a positive way. This person had it. And as you said, try to learn from each. So you try to take a little bit from each one of those and bring it into your own leadership style going forward.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And that's one of the things that I have found over the years, that most leaders are, I'll just say it, they're afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they're afraid is because if they try it and it fails, they think they're going to, lose their job, lose the position.
Yeah.
But I guess as I've gotten older, I've realized it's not about a title. It's not about a position. And as I've let go of those sorts of things, that has given me so much freedom to be able to try things. And I'll be honest, there's been things I've tried that have failed miserably, but I learned tons from that. But isn't that really how we learn, is by failing? I don't learn anything when I do it right. I learn when I do it wrong.
Yeah. When you're doing it right all the time, you don't realize where the mistakes are. We don't realize where there's that difference in the delta, right? It's when you make mistakes, not say continuously or over and over, but you're learning and how to pivot and evolve into a better person and pretty much a better human being.
For sure. For sure.
So, John, before we get sort of to the end of today's show, is there anything else around leadership or anything other insights around that you would want to give to our listeners or watchers today?
Yes, a couple quick things. The first one is a podcast I highly recommend. It is called Read to Lead, and the guy who does it, his name is Jeff Brown. Jeff is an amazing guy. He also has a book out by the same name called Read to Lead, and it is his belief that the best and most effective leaders are readers. So every interview he does is someone who is an author, as you might imagine. And they're all wonderful. He has amazing people. He's had Seth Godin on at least 3 times that I'm aware of. But the other thing related to that, I would say, is if you're not actively consuming information to make you better as a leader, I personally prefer books. But you do it however you want. I would say you got to do that. You have got to be bringing in new information, if for no other reason, to challenge the way you're doing things now. To say, hey, is there a way that I can do it better? Even if it's just tweaks. You may find one line in a 300-page book that revolutionizes your life because you took the time to read it.
Yep, I totally agree with that. I love to read. I used to. My life is a bit chaotic at the moment, so I'm more of an audible person. But I still consume and take in the content, right? Yeah. I do multiple things at once. So people find it really weird is I'll be listening to an audible while I'll be working, and I start taking it in, all that lovely thing of sitting in traffic, right? And listening to audible there. So, but yeah, I totally agree with that. Education or knowledge, consuming it and continuously consuming it will all evolve you into a better person and leader as well.
That's right. Consume it and share it.
Yeah, and share it. John, thanks so much for today and for everything else. Can you let our audience know at the moment where they can find you if they want to reach out or have any questions for yourself?
Absolutely. Look for me on social media. On Instagram, I'm just at John Hulen. My last name is Hulen. That's pretty much where you can find me everywhere. You can find me there, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Those are the main places where I am. And truthfully, between the 3 of them, you will get in touch with me the quickest through Instagram.
Awesome.
So just send me a DM, and just so that you know, I'm the one that responds to my DMs. It's not somebody else, and it's not a bot.
Thanks so much for that, John. It is always, all the information of him will be in the description below, depending where you're listening or watching today. But as always, thanks so much for coming over and having a listen to what John had to say about the 6 leadership types you see there, how you can benefit from evolving from one to the other, taking insights from one to the other as well, and seeing where your journey takes you as a leader and becoming the better version of yourself to be able to help others, motivate and drive others into their roles or what they're trying to achieve. But as always, thanks so much for coming over to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast series.